So now that we're done with focus, let's move on to content. The content parameter is used to determine the quality of the video with respect to the types of vessels and/or presence of artifacts. Here, we're trying to determine if the video truly represents the overall pathology for the patient. Scoring is based on the cumulative presence or absence of artifacts, loops, and true vessels. We will use the term total vessel surface area, which is the area occupied by all vessels, both small and large, measured by eye. For a video to get a content score of 0, it must be completely free of artifacts such as cloudy, bubbly, or bloody saliva. Also, there should be a good distribution of large and small vessels. And less than 30% of the total vessel area should be looped upon itself. Here are some examples of good content. Notice that while there are some loops, it does not equal more than 30% of the total vessel area. So here we have a good distribution of both small and large vessels, and we don't have any bubbles or cloudy saliva that are constricting our field of view. For a video to get a content score of 1, there should only be a few small artifacts. Also, less than 50% of the vessel area should be looped upon itself. If a small bubble is present, it should not block vessels significantly. Here are some examples of acceptable content. These videos would all get a score of 1 for content. Here you'll notice that there is more vessel surface area that is looped upon itself than in the previous set of videos. These loops present a problem when we're doing analysis because they're very hard to trace out and they can represent a false sense of flow. You'll notice that some areas of the vessels are bundled upon themselves or very tortuous. These are what we consider loop vessels. For a video to get a content score of 2, there have to be debilitating artifacts such as large bubbles or cloudy saliva that block the view of vessels. Also, a video will get a score of 2 if the majority of the vessels, more than 50%, are looped upon themselves. Here are some examples of unacceptable content. What you'll notice is that in all these videos, there are too many loops. Greater than 50% of the total vessel surface area is looped upon itself. So that was content. Let's move on to stability. This is a parameter we use to determine if the video can be stabilized by software such that sufficient field of view can be preserved. So what you'll do is pick an object in the middle of the field of view, then determine how far half the distance is to the edge, and also how far a quarter of the distance is to the edge. So if you start the movie from the beginning, you'll want to watch that object and see how far it moves from the center. Depending on how far it moves, we'll give it either a score of 0, 1, or 2. So for a video to get a score of 0, it can move no more than half the distance to the edge of the field of view. Here are some examples of good stability. You'll notice that the bottom right edge of that vessel doesn't move more than a quarter of the distance to the edge of the field of view. The reason behind all this is when the software goes to stabilize the video, it will look frame to frame and try to align objects. If the video moves a lot, those parts of the field of view won't be kept. For a video to get a stability score of 1 means that the object in the center of the field of view has not moved more than half the distance to the edge. Here are some examples of acceptable stability. In this video, you'll notice that the looped vessel in the center of the image will move more than a quarter of the distance, but not more than a half the distance to the edge of the field of view. So for this video, we give it a score of 1. When assigning a score for this parameter, you won't have these red circles, so you'll have to use your imagination to measure quarter and half distances from the center to the edge of the field of view. For a video to get a score of 2 for stability means that the center object has moved more than half the distance to the edge of the field of view. Also, if the movie moves quickly over the course of 2 or 5 frames, we'll give the video a score of 2 for stability. Here are some examples of unacceptable stability.